The stock market's high. The election's uncertain. Should I sell? Welcome to Friends Talk Financial Planning. I am Bridget Sullivan Mermel, and I have a fee-only financial planning practice in Chicago, Illinois.
And I'm John Scherer. I run a fee-only financial planning firm in Middleton, Wisconsin. And that is the question of the day, right, Bridget? We've got, a new president-elect, and the market has been hitting all-time highs here recently. The market's soaring.
Right.
And I actually had a friend of mine send me a note this morning and say, the market's been up so much in the last week, I'm going to take my 401k and go all to the cash feature until things shake out. And, it's interesting for me to think about like what that means. And you didn't ask specifically, but sort of like confirmation of I'm doing the right, here's what I'm doing, right? And kind of like, what do you think? And it's interesting. And my mind starts going about what I tell clients and how I deal with that. And I thought that might be a really interesting thing for us to talk about today is the last time I don't watch the market on a daily basis, but the last time I looked after I got that email this morning, the S&P 500 is at something like 3,600, and it's been up. It's been up, I don't know, 6, 7, 8%. I mean, a lot in the last week, right? Here, I thought we're supposed to not like uncertainty and all these things in the market. And geez, if I were a betting man, what I would have bet on last week is not how things would have shook out, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So one of the things, let me just I'm going to share my reaction. I want to hear what you would say and how you handle. But one of the things for me is that you just don't know what's going to happen, right? Last week, if you told me what was going to go on in the election, I'd say, well, geez, we have all our money in stocks? Probably not, right? And look, that'd have been the best place to have our money, U.S. large cap stocks, right? And so, number one, we don't know what the future holds. And then number two, if we did, I'd make the wrong choice half the time. I'd guess wrong on these things. And so that idea of, well, listen, let's get out and go to cash and wait and see what happens. It's over. I've been doing this almost 20 years, and just time and time again where I think I know what's going to happen, I don't. And then the other thing about this, and I'm going to ask my friend about this, is, okay, you make this decision, fine. But then you've also have to have a metric for changing that in the future, right? Like, okay, not after. Well, when are you going to do it? After the fact of the market, does something, after it keeps on going up for the next, and I'm not predicting that, right? But the market goes up another 25%, then you're going to get back in and feel good? Or the market takes a tumble and then you're going to feel good when the market's down and, coronavirus, unemployment comes, something happens to make the market, and then you're going to feel good about investing your money? Right. And so you have to, if you're going to do this, you have to guess right twice, right? You got to guess near the high and you got to guess near the bottom. And then you got to have some system for doing it. And man, that is just so hard.
And you have to stick to it.
And you got to stick to it, right? What happens when things change in the future, right?
Or you're busy.
Those are, those are two of the things that come to mind as I think about jumping in and out or trying to make a decision based on these external factors, right? Whether it's the election and the market, and then it's going to be interest rates, and then it was, tax cuts or no tax cuts, or unemployment, or there's always some, I call it the apocalypse du jour, right? Like what's new today? Now it's, 5 or 7 years ago it was Greece, and now you don't hear about that. And 10 or 12
Greece
years
is
ago
supposed to be doing well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the price of oil was back in the mid 2000s. Oil is at $100+ a barrel. This is going to be a catastrophe. But okay, now don't listen. Don't look at that man behind the screen, right? It's now it's the So it's understandable where people don't know how to interpret that. And it's frustrating that the media so often, what's exciting is these, here's what to do next.
Right.
But the reality is it's boring is the right way to do it. And so anyway, that's a lot of the feelings that I've had. I guess it's more even feelings than, there's the facts, right? I can show you the facts, but then how you react to that stuff and helping, so if I can help my friend to make a better decision about this, we'll see on that. What do you, what if you had a client that called in and said, hey, Brit, geez, I want to go to cash, right? The market's up and I'm uncertain about things. What would you, how do you address that if that comes up? Or maybe it has come up, I don't even know.
Well, first of all, I understand where they're coming from because certainly the news is disquieting, and it's going up and down so much. And you'd really rather just stay out and stay on the sidelines and just watch it, right?
Yeah.
So I can understand where they're coming from an emotional standpoint. But the reason people hire me, and some people have specifically hired me because they know that that's what they do and they want me to tell them not to do that. They know
Yeah.
that the best way to make money over the long haul is to get out of, I call it reptile brain. I didn't come up with that term.
Yeah.
Get up, get out of your reptile brain and get into some higher thinking and like look at the long term thinking. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of things that I feel like doing today that I don't do because I'm thinking about the long term. I might feel like having a big dessert. Oh my gosh, I might feel like drinking first thing in the morning, but I don't.
I was just thinking about all that Halloween candy that's sitting out
Yeah,
in the kitchen,
exactly.
right?
I don't
Yeah.
because I've got to think long term,
Yeah.
and so that's where we do it. So what I want to do, what I do with clients is go back to, let's look at your plan. Like,
Yeah.
so why do you feel this way? And is there anything that's changed in your situation that makes us want to change how your assets are allocated? And so I take it from that perspective. So what do you think about, from your friend's point of view, how do you look at it? Like, can you, when you look at their actual situation, has
Yeah.
anything changed?
Well, and that's a great point. It's like if it's when it's client focused that we have a plan, like we're trying to
Right,
accomplish certain things, and part of the plan is, well, listen, when things go haywire, we've got to build that in. It's not, well, if things go great, we do this, and if things go haywire, then
right,
then our plan is broken. Like we've got to, you got a plan for both sides of it, and that's maybe when people don't have a plan and they're just reactionary to things where there's a problem with it. And that idea of what's changed, and I said something about these external factors, like I would look at it for clients internally, like,
right,
listen, there's things, you know the election, and well, listen, if I have a client who's in the political world
right,
and
exactly.
their party is not their person they're working for, they've had a life change,
They
that makes a
lost
difference.
re-election.
Right, right. Well, I don't have a job now, right? Like that
Yeah,
changes what we were maybe planning on.
right.
Or
That's a change that you might want to adjust for.
right, now we've got to take a look at, and we've already planned for a contingency of, geez, I mean, if I lose my job, we have to have that in the plan. Well, now that means that our forward-looking things change. It's not because of the political nature; it's because of the personal nature.
Right,
And it's. Oh, I was just going to say, it's even the same thing about like coronavirus and all the things that have gone
right,
on, like not because of that we don't change our approach, but geez, if I've lost my job, right, or if I've had personal situation has been affected, there's some folks their jobs have been better, right, there's
right,
more demand
exactly.
for
There's more work.
recreational equipment or things like
Yeah,
that. That's different, whereas other people are saying, listen, restaurants and places where I've service industry, if you're losing your job, that changes our future looking approach, but not just because of what we think might possibly happen. That's not a recipe for success.
right. Like, so I have people that because of COVID, they can't travel, so they're delaying retirement, and then they're happy because the stock market is up because they'll make a little bit more, and it's a great time to not retire.
Yeah,
They feel like, what would I do anyway?
yeah,
Then on the flip side, you get people that are like, working so hard now, I just want to quit. Like, so that same external situation, two different responses for people. And so I want to look at, why are you feeling this way? Like, so why are you feeling like I want to move it all to cash? Uh, and has anything in your situation changed? Has anything in, when are you going to retire? And we have a whole list of the things that you want to consider when you're deciding how much to put in stocks versus to put into bonds. Have any of those factors changed?
yeah.
And we try to let the stock market just do its thing.
That's such a great just reframing the question, right? And it's interesting. I appreciate you saying that, because I think so much what is it? I can't remember, left or right brain, but like the facts, like here are the facts, right? Well,
Right,
that's all wonderful, but when I see the news and I don't have the filters, and it's scary, right? Like that's real.
right,
It's real. It's not like people are making these things up, right? And that's a really important thing to remember. Maybe when I talk to my friend, I'll say, hey, right, it's hey, we don't know, and there's that natural reaction of fear.
right.
um,
It's totally normal.
Yeah,
Flight,
yeah.
fight, flight.
You know,
Yeah.
and the other thing that strikes me too is that in our world, and I think you do something similar, it's the, you know, our stocks are our crops in the field in the farming analogy, right? That's where we make money, but it's also where we have floods and droughts, right? And
Right.
then when we have good years in the fields, we don't sell, we take some of we put some vegetables in the pantry, right? We can our pickles and our applesauce. And those are the bonds and the fixed income, the cash and CDs and that sort of stuff. And sometimes when I think when we look at this as a person, we think, oh geez, the market's going to do this, and maybe it is, I don't know, maybe it is going to do this. But then I forget, like, oh yeah, I've got, you know, 5 years, I could live out of my pantry for the next 5 years without worrying about it, right? That
Right.
sort of thing. And some of it's looking at the balance. You don't do you know, do you have to go all, you know, would you, if you were a farmer and the farmer's almanac said, hey, we're going to have a flood next year, it's going to be a drought, do you not plant your crops? Well, no, right? But you also have to have that pantry thing, and that global view. It's maybe it's easy to just look at one part of it and not the whole picture, and that's part of where some of the that higher brain thinking that you're talking about comes in, right? No, not just the fearful, you know, run, you know, what, fight or flight sort of thing, but the idea of this whole picture and how we've designed things. That's that I think is, it's interesting as we talk through that. That's one of the things that I know is really comforting for our clients, is having a pantry where no matter what happens, you don't have to worry about how you're putting food on your table for the next 5 or 10 years. That's, oh yeah, that's right. Then yeah, the markets are scary and they're up at all-time highs, but no big deal. We're not going to use them, right? That's sort of, again, focusing back on your goals and your plan and what's the process.
Right.
So that's really helpful. And we'll see what happens in the markets, right? You know,
Yeah.
they have to set all-time highs periodically, right? Otherwise, we'll be down, sort of a thing, right? You know, it's
Right.
so that's an interesting also as we talk about this, and maybe a good way to wrap up. It's that it's those internal things, right? It's how
Right.
we as individuals, how our clients, how people, what that situation is. The external things, now it's election and market and those things. Those are mostly white noise in the long run, right?
Right. And we're trying to look at the long run and have money 10, 15, 20 years from now, and make sure we optimize that. And
Yeah.
there's a balance to be struck.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking through this. This is, you know, a little different than our normal Friends Talk financial planning, but some really interesting things going on right now. And I appreciate having the chance to talk through this with you and share it with all our viewers.
Yeah, great, John. And if you're interested in the way we think about things and are interested in looking for an advisor in your area, both John and I are members of the Alliance of Comprehensive Planners. The website is acplanners.org, and there's planners all over the country. This is a non-for-profit group that we're really just promoting it because we love the philosophy, not because we get anything out of it, except for more people that believe in the philosophy of comprehensive financial planning, that it helps include taxes, but includes all of your life.
Yeah,
So
that's
thanks,
great.
John.
All right. Yeah.
Seems
Thanks,
like a
Bridget.
great way to wrap it up.
All right. Wonderful. Bye-bye.